Alright, so back to this. Yet another black screen YIIK video, right? Post third climax. I actually just finished the game. And by finish, I mean I got the standard ending a few parts ago, and I just got the alternate ending where it's like, it's the ending with Semi in the K&N building. So just for potential spoiler protection, but again, I know there are two more endings for a total of 4. The game's been out for 5 years. No one's been able to get them. I'm not going to be the first, so I'm satisfied and content with the 2 endings I got. And definitely, glad I checked to make sure we could get the alternate ending, or like that we still hadn't gotten it before I did the New Game Plus. But again, because I was going to originally New Game Plus to try to work my way towards that Rory choice where it's like, oh, you go to his house just to tell him that you're not sorry, and then to try and access the K&N building. But lo and behold, you access the K&N building in this alternate ending. So again, I'm just going to end it, not even going to bother restarting the game with New Game Plus to get to Rory's dialogue. I'm just not that invested in it. Again, for me, the big thing was accessing the K&N building, which we did in the alternate ending. So there's out of the way, and that's what I wanted to do and get done. So that's first things first, right? Second thing is, again, with that, I'm not going to be recording any more parts. The last part where I got that and achieved that is part 48, which is very funny because going into this game, I predicted there would be 50 parts. So it looks like I was 2 off. And if you count half parts, I believe it actually does come out to 50. I just find that funny there. But that's like, yeah, we're officially putting an end to a series, and this will be a last black screen video. I was considering doing 2. It's just going to be this one, though, because I'm going to kind of talk about everything I want to, so there's that, right? And I will say, so before we get into it, I did want to talk. There's been one specific, and I wanted to bring this up at the very start, but I guess I was talking about our stuff and wanted to lay grounds and, like, conditions, right? There's been one dude who commented on the last 2 black screen videos. I don't remember their name. I don't know if they're, like, a dev, creator, like, mod, playtester, something along those lines, but the person who's been commenting, because chances are, they'll be on this video, right, or find their way here. They've seemed to know what they're doing, and reading their comments has been especially helpful, so I'd like to thank them for that, even though I've been fairly critical of the game. Again, it seems like they have some sort of involvement in the game. I have no idea how or what, but, chances are they'll be on this video, so if that's you watching, thank you for that, because it's definitely, like, kind of helped with my understanding of the game, and especially now that we are actually game complete, both primary and alternate ending, I feel like I have a better grasp over the game. So again, definitely thank you for those comments, Ryan. It definitely helped out. But likewise, right, and where I'm going with this, I have a greater understanding, but unfortunately, that doesn't necessarily mean I have a greater appreciation for the game, right? And where this is going to lead to is, my opinions on kind of like the third climax and the overall game in general. So, again, I'll start off as I've done with these past 2 climax-based videos, thoughts on the game in general from the second climax, which third climax actually wasn't too far after. The second one, we had stopped, it was right after Essentia's Mine Dungeon and kind of going through that part of the story. And the third climax is obviously just the ending of the game. So it's like, and then at the end of, what would you call it? Essentia's Mine Dungeon, gain into the try-choice section of the game. And then, now we're talking about the end game. So, again, we can get into it. I'll go over my thoughts and opinions on the overall game, and then I'll go into, like, not even necessarily each ending, but more so the endings in general, right? And how I kind of think they should be, and, stuff along those lines. So, there's that, right? So, thoughts and opinions on the game, and let's get into it now. So, I've been saying this for the longest time, but I'm going to say it in this black screen, just black screen video right now. I think this was a game of wasted potential. I think this game could have been better than Omori, like genuinely better than Omori. I know, because the whole reason I got into this game was a meme shitpost about this game versus Omori, right? But this game, and I don't think Omori is a perfect game. In fact, I've gone flat because I don't want to say Omori's mid, but I think it's very much overrated, and I have legitimate critiques of the Omori game. Granted, again, besides that, I will say that I did genuinely enjoy Omori, found it entertaining, and quite frankly, enjoy that experience there, right? And I thought it was a great game. Unfortunately, I can't say the same for YIIK. Um, Again, like I'll say, and I said this at the end of the previous parts. I enjoyed like the beginning and the end, right? I'll say that about YIIK. The beginning it wasn't too bad. I'm like, okay, this ain't too bad. Then it was kind of from that first climax onward where my opinion of the game dropped. And I say I enjoy the end. What I mean by I enjoy the end is that it was so over the fucking top and so just like completely out of this world and completely like incomprehensible and incoherent, like where the story was going, that I just like it was just like crazy, right? Like that was like, the moment where after 30 fucking hours, Alex addressed us by Sonny and we used the whole naming scheme that we set up at the very beginning of the game, I just lost my mind. Like, when I say, it was like entertaining, it was entertaining in how like crazy it was that like that was like the direction that the game was headed. So it's not necessarily a compliment, more so than it's like it's not a laughing with, it's a laughing at matter, right? It's like after 30 fucking hours we're finally using this in there, we're fighting, fucking what's it called? It's just proto Alex and shit, right? And whatnot. But again, it's something to where it's like a laughing at moment. But that's why it was entertaining, because it was just so crazy that we had reached that point. So beginning and end, they were entertained for those reasons. The middle was just a drag, right? It was a grind. And it's, again, and I'm going to just say this, because the gameplay, itself is not too bad, right? In terms of like from a broad like general perspective, like I like what they did with the gameplay. The problem is when they're implementing specific gameplay mechanics, like I don't know why every single move needs a different fucking minigame. That like pissed me off more than anything. It's almost like the inverse of Omori. With Omori, I think it's from a broad general perspective, its game mechanics are pretty like, or like its gameplay is pretty dog shit. Like I feel like the emotion system was just never utilized. You always were just like gaming the system with like items and crap. Again, it was how it was specifically implemented, like the specific gameplay mechanics were what brought up to speed and what made it better there and doable. With this, it's the opposite. It's like, okay, I like what they did from a broad general perspective. Some of the stuff I didn't utilize just because we were never fucking told, like the whole time effect, rotating people out of the party, the whole elements thing, we were figuring out too, right? Again, but with how they implement it with like specific mechanics, again, it's just so painful, right? Like it's just so painful. So that's just okay, that I'll forgive them for, because that's just like, again, it wasn't too bad, right? Part of the pain was I was also under leveled, but once I got to level, it wasn't really a problem. What I'll say is the biggest thing, and this is going to be the biggest thing, and like that's how you know it's serious. I'm smacking myself, right? Just for emphasis, like clapping, right? The biggest thing for me, like the biggest thing that I think, the game could have done right is, and I have just been saying this, it should have focused and honed in on, the whole semi-pot disappearance and stayed tailored towards that, with kind of it being more of a mystery, detective, like puzzle, like thriller type RPG game, right? Focusing on an actual coherent story with actual character development and progression. Again, there could still be all this soul space stuff, which would need to happen regardless, because that's where she got taken. But it should have been limited to like the world. The plot shouldn't have evolved into like the whole soul space nonsense and metaphysical bullshit, because that's where it's like the story is not coherent. And just because it's layered and complex and like metaphysical doesn't make for a good story. It makes it like you're sacrificing having a coherent storyline and actually having character development and progression for just layering the story. And I talk about how much pull the rug out, like gotcha moments there are. Like even in the end, like it's literally that. It's like, oh yeah, Sentra's been lying to you this whole time. She's part of me. Just you might as well just join me. And it's hilarious because like, okay, that's not too bad, but we don't even see what happens afterwards when we fucking pull the switches. And Like, we legitimately don't see. We don't know what happens, right? But it's like, again, it's just something where it's like, it's this game is like every single flaw that I have with the indie genre just wrapped up in one bundle. Again, the need to be this like quirky, like pseudo intellectual, very surface level, like, what would you call it? Like, type of game, right? Which, like, again, everything wrong with indie there, where it focuses on vague lore intricacies and appealing to a group of people who don't play games to enjoy them, but play them to freaking analyze them and act superior to everyone else, as opposed to, okay, actually tell a good story and actually be fun and enjoying to play. Like, again, it's just like I feel so kind of sorry and bad for like the creators and developers, because like it seems like I'm being pretty harsh, but I feel like I'm also being like fairly, like I'm not solely shitting on the game. I'm telling it like it is from my, perspective and experience, and I'm like talking good about parts of the games that I liked, but again, still mostly, improvement versus people who just meme and shit on it, right? But it's like, again, for me, it's just like I feel like, again, and it's hilarious that we only meet Semi in like the very fucking beginning until she gets taken away, and then at the end, whether it be Spectre in the normal ending or actual Semi in the alternate ending, it's just, again, the game could have been better than Omori. Like, again, I'd mentioned this in the last Climax, I really liked the day mechanic. It's a questionable about, okay, why bother implementing this if we can just do everything with 2 weeks to spare? And if this occupies such a decent, chunk and portion of the game, why not just extend it to the whole game and make it so where like you need to choose what you can or cannot do on each day? Like, I felt like that would have been a very interesting mechanic to work with. Again, it was just something to where it's like, okay, of course, just questionable implementation, but yeah, and the big thing there is just, yeah, I mean, just the game, it could have been so much more, but it is what is. Funny enough, there is a lot of similarities between this game and Omori, but this game, it was started later and then came out earlier, so it's not like one copied the other. It's like they're just very similar. I mean, they're quirky Earthbound inspired or indie inspired RPGs, right? So, but with that, again, now that's kind of my overall thoughts. The big thing, I feel like the game should have stayed honed, stayed focused, stayed deliberate, light, tailored towards the whole semi-poc thing. Make that the big thing rather than, focus on a coherent story, developing, progressing your characters, as opposed to just the whole metaphysical route. Because that's like, I feel like I have a pretty good understanding of it now, but it doesn't, just because I semi understand it now doesn't mean that it doesn't make up for the game not being fun, right? Like, I feel like that's what it comes down to. The game isn't fun, wasn't enjoyable, entertaining. Like, I would have rather played something else. I hate to say it, but that's kind of overall on the game. Now we can kind of talk more about the endings themselves, or I guess ending, quote unquote. So basically, what happens is, okay, so you fight Proto. Well, I guess it's going general, right? Okay, so you go through the try choice section of the game. The big thing we first learn is that Alex isn't native to this reality. In his reality, he has his dad, not his mom, and that Michael left in was he moved out and was not replaced, but Semi-Poc moved in. That's what we ultimately end up learning. Yeah, that's what there's something on my foot. All right, sorry. Yeah, that's what we end up learning during, like, because you get, like, the instances with your friends throughout the try choice portion of the game. Because you get the Christmas incident, or Christmas interaction, but this is the big one. I think it's like 2 or 1 days before, New Year's Eve, right? Where, again, Alex, he's talking with the panda, and the big thing is he has a revelation and kind of learns that, okay, his reality, things went differently. So the big thing we learn is that Alex isn't native to the current reality, right? And it's likely that Sunny is, or whoever, because Sunny's who we're referred to in the alternate ending, but that's besides the point. But Alex isn't native to this reality, Then New Year's Eve, he gets up, gets joke prank called on the phone, right? Hallucinates, sees his dad when it's actually, again, just definitely not his dad, just him seeing things, because then he freaking steps outside and it's all Crayola cartoon, right? And that's, the signify that, okay, shit's going down, right? This is the end, right? And basically, if you take the normal ending, you go fight Proto Alex, right, or the Proto Comet. You lose, everyone gets banished. Alex goes to soul space, right? His reality is destroyed. Pretty much you wander. It's hilarious. You have a conversation with the panda, and it's like, you must know what we do. And Panda's like, oh, I'm only a stuffed animal. And then he turns into an actual stuffed animal. So again, point being, Alex is probably just talking with himself the whole time. But anyway, eventually he makes his way to Planet Alex. With other Alexes from other realities. And it's interesting because you learn they all leave with Essentia, right? None of them stay to fight the comet. They all leave with Essentia, but all of them end up getting ditched by Essentia at some point, right? The android, she never stays with them. Again, Alex goes to dark, they're called like cloaked Alex figures. They go become a Proto Comet to kill another reality, but instead Alex he ends up teaming up with Sunny, right? In the gang, Sunny's gang, right? Again, we named it all after Amori characters. After 30, I was so livid at that moment. After 30 hours of gameplay, we finally get those nicknames. And I don't want to say Sunny's from the original, the one that in reality we played in, because we know Alex isn't native to it. He was from a different one, similar to Vela, based on his childhood being different. Because all the Sunny characters are from like the medieval times. So they're just seemingly from some alternate, reality, right? Probably in the medieval times, a better one than, I guess Alex was in. Because we also know that the realities can take place at different times, right? Or the alternate worlds are sort of, dimensions. They can be at different points in time. And I think it's very likely that Sunny's is like medieval because all of the freaking characters are surrounding that, right? So who knows, though? I guess it's irrelevant. Basically, he teams up with alternate reality characters to go take down his proto self, which is hilarious because A, it doesn't look like him. B, and the big thing is that's where we learn and find out that Essentia is just a part of Alex, and that Vela, the whole thing about her being the culmination of like Sammy and Vela is false, right? She's just a part of Alex and lured us here to try to kill Proto Alex, right? Because I guess, I don't know, she and Proto Alex are like divided but share the same soul, but Proto Alex is the one who's in control. I don't know why they don't just duke it out, right? They're literally sitting right next to each other, but whatever, eventually, okay, we're not able to beat Proto Alex. We pull the two levers, which I guess unifies or combines them back into one. It's supposed to have this separation of their, conscious, but I guess they're still same souls or whatever. But then, the game literally ends, so we don't know what happens there on out. So just whatever, but again, and then alternate ending where that differs is rather than go fight the comet, instead we go towards, we meet with the cartoon drawing of Semi, which is after we bury the real one, I'm pretty sure, or at least have her tombstone in our yard. Go to a K&M building, that's how we access it, right? And then do like intern crap, and then eventually we do meet up with Sammy, right? Or Semi in like Soul Space or wherever. And because she realized that, we can't, what would you call it, fight the Proto Comet. So we instead dip with her, leave everyone else behind, and we, I guess, stay together, right? The interesting thing here, and this is what I was going to say, the interesting thing, you meet with the other Alexes on Planet Alex, and they all say they dipped, but it was with Essentia. Which is interesting because in that alternate ending, we dip with Semi. This wouldn't be a problem because before we assumed that Semi was part of Essentia, right? But given that going through the main ending, we now know and learn that, okay, Essentia is just part of Alex and Semi and Vela are their own people. It's interesting that Semi is the one who's taking us, and we're leaving with her when all the our Alexes, they just leave with Essentia. So essentially, our Alex kind of did his own thing versus like all the others were, they ended up dipping with Essentia, right? But again, an interesting thing there. So I just wanted to point that out, that's like something where it's like, you could be like, oh, Semi's actually, Essentia in disguise, but we know that that's not the case because Essentia is just part of Alex anyway, so. But the point being, those are the main two endings. There are two others. Again, I'm not going to get them. I'm just getting these two. But again, and my thoughts on like the endings in the finale of the game is like, dude, like, okay, I mean, it's something to where it's like, by this point, I was like not invested in the game whatsoever, and it's also something to where My problem with the endings is they're not really endings. Like, we don't see what happens after them. Like, it's funny because we unify Alex and Essentia, but we don't see what actually happens, and we just get the credits. So it's like we legitimately don't know what happens. It's like, okay, does it work? Does Alex or Sunny stay? Who knows, right? Do these proto comets stop going out and destroying realities because we seemingly beat our proto selves? Essentia didn't want the unification either, so it's definitely not destroying our proto self. Like, again, how was our proto self created? Like, how was Essentia created? Like, all this stuff is just, I feel like we have more questions than answers finishing the game. It's hilarious. Even the alternative ending, it was like, okay, we leave with Sammy, but like, what then, right? We go to another reality, we just wander soul space. Like, we're together, the rest of everyone else in our reality is screwed, gets destroyed by Proto Comet. But it's like, again, these endings, they're like, there's just more. Like it's not done. The game's not over. Like, I was seeing the credits and I'm like, we're not done. Like, we need to know more. I don't know. It's just, again, it's the same. It's ending without an ending. Like, again, just, I don't know. Maybe the third and fourth endings clear things up, but nobody's gotten them, so who knows, right? Again, it's just, and to me, what I will say is interesting. What's most interesting is that, and this is partially why I didn't go back and try to get the alternate Rory dialogue where we don't apologize, is because we get the second ending right at the end, right before New Year's. So the big thing is, we know that literally none of our choices in the game impact the ending we get. It's literally only from New Year's Eve onwards. So that's a big thing where it raises the question of like, okay, what's the point of these choices, right? What's the point of these choices, making these choices, the endings, right? Like, if it's not going to change the ending, right? Like, I mean, we went back into the whole Kiss Value choice, the whole don't play it choice, which we just played it anyway. We did the whole ignore, it's the same P vibe with TDLC mods where it's like, what's the point of these choices if they're not going to make a difference, right? Like, I would have, chances are the don't apologize to Rory choice would have made a difference, but knowing that it doesn't impact the ending, I have no motivation to go back, replay through 8 hours of gameplay just to get there, just for, however many lines of dialogue difference. If it would have impacted the ending, sure, right? I could see that. Maybe you get, okay, an ending where, you kind of, what I assumed would happen would be, it would be kind of similar to a Mori, where it's like, okay, you have this ending where you focus on, let's say, going out and solving kind of the mysteries of the universe, right? Like we do. Then you have kind of more of an ending where you're more into onism and your real world job. Because it's funny how that was a thing earlier in the game. A plot was about you finding work, and then it just never ended up coming to anything. So it's I assumed you would have a part where you go out and actually solve the mystery of Semipot. This was earlier on, before I kind of realized, okay, this game's like a shit show, right? I assumed you would have an ending where you go solve the mystery of Semipot. I assumed you have an ending where, you just browse onism and find, work in a real job. And I assumed there'd be, some sort of, alternative or, secret ending. I don't know, But, again, it seems like none of the choices make an impact or difference. And it's okay, I'm not going to waste my time and go back and play through them. So it's that's why we're getting this video, and this video is going to be the last video on, freaking YIIK, right? So, here's what I'm going to say, right? This will be the wrap-up point that I want to make. I'm glad I played the game. I'm glad I played it because I see all the fucking memes about it, right? And I got to play it for myself and experience it for myself. I'm not watching, because I don't watch, reviews on that crap, same thing, again, because it'll just be the same exact issues and flaws I have with indie, right? I'm glad that I played it because, again, I got to experience a game that I feel like, again, could have been a lot and just kind of fell flat. Here's what I will say. I don't dislike Alex's character. I just feel like it kind of got shafted out of any chance of progression, character progression, and development. I feel like that's the big thing there. My favorite character of the whole game was Essentia. No, I'm not even gonna lie. Like the Essentia, I was fucking like, dude, why is she like so cute? I don't know why she's so cute. Like what? Like when you win a battle and she does her fucking peace sign, like that. Just like it's so cute. Like it's just so cute. But it's like probably by far my favorite character. Funny enough, though, I was really hoping there was an ending where he got to side with her, but didn't happen. But again, it's like liked her character. I liked Claudio's. I like Claudio's character. Wasn't a fan of Chandra's. I liked Rory's character, but I still side with Alex for the whole, first climax thing. I still side with Alex there. Michael's character was weird because it's like he was a normal person, and then all of a sudden at the end of the game, he's Proto Michael. It's like, isn't that the purpose, exact same purpose Essentia saves? It's like, why the fuck did they develop him into Proto Michael? Like, it seemed like there was literally zero reason to do that. They just did it because, right? just. But it's like, yeah, I mean, again, where was I going with this? Oh yeah, yeah, I don't think Alex. I just think Alex kind of got shafted. It's something to where it's like his character could have been a lot. Like I feel like the whole disconnected from the practical realities of kind of real life in the world, right? Is like how that trope or archetype usually goes is it's a rich and powerful and successful person. But again, in Alex's position, it was the exact opposite. He was just a loser, right? Like, for lack of a better term. I feel like there could have been, like, he could have gone through some insane character development and progression that just never happened. Vella's character, I guess, again, my issue with her character is that, like, she seemed to, like, know everything, and it never really did anything, like, with that, right? Like, it was like, it's only in the end where, again, we end up, Alex seemingly figures out the mysteries of the universe and whatnot, right? But again, Roy's character I still blame for the whole fucking, like I side with Alex in that conflict. Michael, yeah. Again, I honestly don't know why they added Claudio and Chandra's character. I feel like it probably should have just stayed focused on the main four because they came in pretty late. Again, because then they come in late and then we have the whole section with just Alex and Essentia. So it's like, I don't know, but yeah, well, whatever. I feel like I said what I wanted to about this. I'm probably just going to end it here. I don't really got much more to say, I guess. Other endings, whatever, right? I guess the big thing is that, glad I played the game. Like, I can't imagine the original cut of the game as well as playing on, like, normal difficulty. Like, if you do that, you're a trooper. But with that, I don't got anything else. So I'm just going to end it here. That's all I've got for this one. So, yep, that's it for this one. See you in the next one.